All right. Brew some coffee, pour a cup. It's time for some more coffee talk.
It's Baschamania! Let me tell you something, brother. He gave us everything he had in him tonight. What you gonna do when Baschamania runs wild on you? Oh, it's gonna be a good one. And business just picked up here on the podcast. Oh, yeah.
Are you wearing those this weekend? Or will you never wear those again?
No, they're retired. They're one and done.
That was a one time. Who did you wrestle that weekend?
Ohio State. That was a
No, who did you wrestle though?
Oh, Ethan Smith.
Ethan Smith. Okay.
Yeah. Old Grundy.
I don't remember the match offhand.
He took me down like in the first 30 seconds. And then I ended up getting a major with 5 seconds left. I got a late takedown and I was really tired.
That was Bryce Jordan, right?
Yeah, but I wore some really cool shoes. Shout out Dodo.
Yeah, so that's worth a couple extra points right there in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
do you have? Are you going? This for people living under a rock. This Friday, Cenzo's back on the mat wrestling David McFadden on the PRTC card. Do you have? Is it straight NLWC singlet? Is it?
I don't even know what I'm gonna wear. I have no idea. I need to ask Slay what color I'm wearing first.
Because the only international singlet I've seen you wear was at the Pharaoh. Was that navy blue one?
Yeah, it's I actually worked out in that today.
Really?
Yeah, that's that's what I wore against Valamont too. That's my only singlet. Yeah.
But that singlet's a couple years old. NLWC needs to place an order.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll
thinking, weren't you? And that was what you're wearing in the picture with Jolie the other day too, right?
Yeah. Same singlet.
Okay. Oh, we have our guest waiting for us.
Let's go.
Get on.
Wow. Brief intro.
Yeah, well, it's perfect. I mean, we'll just get her to join right in the conversation.
We didn't really even start yet, so.
No. But I think it'll be a good segue. First of all, how are you?
Me? Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't hear the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. We were just rolling and we were going to go into our first topic, so it's perfect that you joined.
Oh, good. If it's too early or something.
No.
Oh, no, you're great.
Yeah, you're good. I want to dive into your career if we had to wait it all, because this is kind of an awkward time to record because so many of you are coming back from practice. So I get the text even Cenzo last week, I'm in the sauna. Can we push back? Hey, I'm running late. So, so I have backup topics. And one of them that I wanted to start the show with was I kind of reignited the freestyle versus folkstyle debate this weekend on Twitter, simply because
I saw that.
Oh, juicy.
and all it was I bought a subscription to BTN Plus, which I do every January, and I was tuning into Rutgers, Ohio State, which a few of the matches like Sebastian Rivera, I really wanted to see. The rest of them, I'm just casually taking in. And if you're casually tuning into a match, I think freestyle is more exciting than folk style.
Totally.
I think so also.
So all I tweeted was freestyle greater than folk style. That's it. but then it's
come for you.
Yeah, and it's I'm getting responses you freestylers, us folk stylers, we just don't watch freestyle. I'm I watch both, but everybody has a preference. So as two athletes, what do you guys think is freestyle versus folk style for that debate?
You go first. You got this.
Okay. I mean, I'm definitely team freestyle, and I've wrestled both. So, but even just watching, I feel like it would be so much more exciting if collegiate wrestling was freestyle beyond the fact that there's more action, in my opinion. I think it's easier to lose in freestyle, which makes things more exciting, right? Say at the NCAA tournament, it's a lot easier to take someone down and catch them in a leg lace than it is in folk style. I mean, there's always the idea of pinning somebody, but I just feel like it's easier to lose in freestyle. So you need to be on more often. You could see a lot of number ones go down a lot more, which makes for exciting tournaments.
And to kind of add to that too, I think folk style is just you have to be better at more stuff too. I think it's just a little harder. I mean, maybe not harder, but different. You got to be better in different positions and stuff. And freestyle is just kind of go. And I know like Shane Sparks like posts that picture of like a packed arena.
That
but,
was
like,
the
but, like,
worst argument.
Hey,
I love Shane, but
if
that
it-
was such a bad argument.
If they style, like it's still gonna be packed.
Right.
It's still gonna be packed.
That's a
Yeah, bad
college
take.
fan thing.
Like,
That's like I said that to him. I'm like,
Mhm.
Penn State fans are still going if it's folk style or freestyle.
They
Iowa
just need
fans
to-
are still going. It's like
And
For
you
sure.
just need to understand the rules. That's really it. And then the fans will still be there.
right. I don't understand the fall off from I get it if you only follow college. Like if you're just a Penn State wrestling fan, I get it sometimes if all you care about is who's competing for Penn State. But if you're a wrestling fan and you stop watching freestyle, like that's where the Olympics happen. That's where the world championships happen. I don't understand the fall off. Like, yeah, I'm just not going to watch that.
Yeah, it's like the highest level. People are like, nah, not interested. I don't know.
People-
And just like watching someone get ridden out for 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
That's
like,
exactly what I was
it's
so
watching.
boring,
so boring
so boring. That's why I let everyone up all the time.
At least, yeah, exactly. At least in folk style, they should be like, okay, back on your feet. Like, whatever. If you wanted to keep some rules similar to folk style, at least implement something like, okay, we're going back on our feet. Like, just that whole kind of
Right.
folk style.
And that's why, like, the Sebastian Rivera match, which he wrestled, I forgot the kid's name, Dylan something, who beat Echemendia for the spot. I really wanted to watch that match. And Sebastian just like rode him for minutes and minutes at end. And I'm like, no fault of Rivera's. He's doing what he's supposed to. He's winning a
It's a
folk style
sport,
match.
yeah.
I wish it was freestyle. That's what started
Right.
it all, but I don't know. And for women, do they wrestle freestyle in college, right?
Yeah, freestyle in college.
That's nice.
See,
Must
men need
be
to make
nice.
that- But what did
Yeah, it is very nice.
in high school? You wrestle folk style, right?
Oh, yes. And I swear, every time I would go back to like wrestle in my high school mat room, they'd be like, all right, we're going to work on stand-ups. I'm like, goodbye.
Yeah, like whenever I'm doing camps and if I like ever teach mat stuff, like most of the girls usually like they're like,
Peace
this
out.
they're like, this isn't freestyle. And I'm like, hey, like you guys want to hit some gut wrenches? Like go right ahead. Like,
Right.
do your
Oh
thing.
my God. Yeah,
But-
that's hard.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second here.
Please do.
You see there's a lot of good scrambles in freestyle, but you see some crazy scrambles in folk style wrestling. Like I bring up this match all the time, Yanni and Bryce in the national finals.
Yep.
There's some crazy scrambles in that match. And like, I was on a team with like Bo and Nolf who did crazy scramble stuff all the time. Not me so much, but like it's just cool. Like that's cool to watch.
But
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like I love watching folk style. For me, I think it's a matter of I think freestyle's just more exciting. And I think if somebody's just gonna tune into something because wrestling's on, I think there's a better chance of excitement happening if it's freestyle. Or if it's
Mhm.
folk style and you're watching guys get points on escapes. Like, but those exciting folk style matches are hands down, like you can't beat those. What was it like going from folk style in high school to freestyle right away in college?
I was super against it.
Really?
Actually,
Ooh.
crazy story because I never wrestled freestyle ever in my life. Like, put it off until my junior year of high school.
Turned out pretty
And,
well
like,
for you.
Going
Yeah, it worked
in-
out.
Worked
yeah,
out,
it worked all right.
Working out so far.
But I remember my first freestyle match. I had no clue what I was doing. To me, I'm like, oh my God, this is so different, even though I should just wrestle folk style. So I was like, just focused on like pushing people out. And I kept pushing this, and I was wrestling boys. I kept pushing this boy out. I had pushed him out maybe 5 times. This boy comes back to the center of the mat, stands straight up, and just punches me in the
No.
face. Like, absolute bonkers. I'm like, what is this freestyle madness?
And this was your first year in college?
No, this was my junior year, going into my senior year, first time wrestling freestyle, because I'm like, oh, I want to try to go to college
Got
and
it.
wrestle, so I need to
Yeah.
learn how to do this.
And do you
But I
have
was
this
super
kid's
against
name?
it.
Like, can you put him on blast? Do you remember
I
his
don't
name?
know his name. No, which is crazy. Like, the crazy part was, I think like I was the only girl at this tournament, right? So I think the refs were like afraid to disqualify him because they'd be like, oh, it's because she's a girl. And
Yep.
they let the match continue. So everybody's watching at this point, and then I pin him. And so the whole arena's like, yeah.
So
It
my
was
question was going to
crazy.
be, my next question was, did you hit him back? And
Okay,
apparently-
so I get up to hit him. I fell down and I get up to hit him back, and like people rush the mats, like coaches and referees. And I'm like,
Ooh.
no, it's my turn. Like,
You can talk as much crap as anybody wants
Mhm.
about social media and cell phones, but I wish that was caught on camera.
I know.
Like that would have gone viral.
Oh, for sure. It
For
was
sure.
absolutely
Yeah.
absurd. So that was my
That
first
was awesome.
freestyle experience.
And you grew up in Indiana. Shout out Nick Lee. Did you ever run into Nick Lee like a coffee shop or I think
No.
Indiana,
I
it's
think
you
we're
and Nick Lee in
opposite
my
sides
head.
of the state.
Okay.
He's pretty much Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like pretty much Michigan.
So not really
Yeah.
even the same place at all.
Yeah.
No, not at
Not
all.
even two Indiana people. All right.
Yeah.
So you grew up wrestling. I've heard the story. I think you were like 11 years old. You were going to practice with your brothers. You hated wrestling. You finally got like bored of being there. You started. How did you all of a sudden just get good at something you hated and didn't want to do?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I guess I just watched it for so long and that played so much into my advantage, just like how much I could pick up just from watching it for years, and eventually I think just that mental shift of like, I want to be good at this. I want to enjoy, I'm enjoying this. And that was kind of just you put those together and then eventually hard work and the right coaches and stuff like that just kind of all added up.
That's actually interesting because I used to hate wrestling also. And I didn't
we
plan
all have.
I didn't even plan on wrestling in college till I was like a junior in high school. I didn't want to.
That
Oh,
story's
wow.
hilarious, by the way. Previous episode of the podcast.
Yeah, like I just like kind of like going into my junior year of high school, just kind of started messing around more and stopped taking it so seriously. And then I got way better and started liking it way more.
Because you enjoyed it, yeah?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Pretty
So
much
I
it.
think that's such a huge part of it. And you even like, I'm sure you can attest to this, like as you go into your career, there's moments where you're just like way too like deep into wrestling and it's way too serious and like you hate it. I mean, there's
Right.
been so many more times in my career where I'm like, I hate this sport, like I'm over it. And then, giving myself that freedom to just be like happy and have fun with it instead of be so serious. And that's when it's like, oh, I love this.
Yes, like whenever you're like just yourself, and you don't try to force things and you just, you go to practice, you do what you want to do. You're like, oh, I want to get really good at this shot today. And you work on it and you see improvement. That for me is like, that's fulfilling. That's what I love about wrestling pretty much.
For sure.
And I heard a story too, like in 2017 when you hurt your elbow, that you weren't even you said in your words that like you weren't as disciplined as you needed to be. You're kind of partying, just doing your thing, young 20-year-old. And then like you kind of got serious and got disciplined. What was that shift that helped you do that?
Yeah, well, I think wrestling, like I wasn't enjoying it, even though I was like being way more like lax and having fun in other areas of my life. You know what I mean? So I still I did not like wrestling, which is probably why I was just seeking other outlets to be happy, or be happy. But yeah, I think once that happened, it just gave me so much time to reflect and just, be honest with myself. Like the things that I was doing were not bringing me happiness or success or anything that I wanted. And so it was just kind of insane for me to continue down that path. I knew I had to make a change, whether that be, retire from wrestling, go find something else that will make me happy, or try and find what I want in wrestling. And so having that 6 to 8 months to really dive into what that was and reflect on the things that I felt I could improve upon, that was really just the beginning of that whole shift.
Cenzo, you look like you wanted to chime in when she said happy.
No, because like I totally understand what she's saying because like I've been through very similar things. So like I get it. Yeah, it's just like,
Expound.
no, just like you're like especially if you're struggling with your wrestling. For me, I would get tired of it and go do some extracurriculars, which I would think it would make things better, and it makes things worse pretty much. It just adds like unneeded stressors in your life. So like I was just kind of nodding like, yeah, I get it. I've been there.
Definitely.
Well, and there's an interesting parallel between both of you too, because you both went to colleges where Cenzo, you were in the Penn State room, which everywhere you look, it's NCAA champ, world champ, Olympic champ. And Sarah, King University, that was almost like I can't even think of the word, but like when women's wrestling really started growing, you had so many studs in that room, all the national team members. for both of you, what was it like to try to focus on making sure that your focus is solely on you while also being a part of such a team where I feel like it's easy to get lost in we're so good as a team, but I have to get better still individually?
I feel like in college, I just had no clue. You know, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people who had like-minded goals as me, but I had no clue how to get to those goals. I was I feel like I was not smart enough to not be so selfish. You know, I felt like I was pretty selfish in the wrong ways. Whereas now in my career, I feel like I'm selfish in the right ways. Like I know when I, need to do things for myself versus do things for others. So, and I think I'm probably, I don't mean to speak for other people in that room, but I think we all were kind of young and just trying to find our way. And the thing that kind of kept us going was that we were so competitive and we all had the same goal in mind. And when I talk to those women now, we're so much more mature and such. I think we would be such better teammates, and obviously we're better wrestlers and human beings. So it just was an interesting time to try and navigate that. And to be completely honest, I think we were all kind of a little confused.
I would say, for me, just as a freshman coming in, you can't get discouraged because you're going to take your lumps and your beatings for sure. But that's kind of what you want. And you want to surround yourself with those people that can give you those beatings, because they'll tell you, they'll help pull you up. Right. Like I remember being a freshman and I would go in and Zane would just beat the crap out of me. And then he'd be like, hey, let's work on this, and this. So I'm like, all right, he'll beat me up, but he's making me better. And, I think for us, that we just have that support from each other is really, really big. And, that whenever I was an older guy on the team, incoming, young guys, freshmen, same way, I'll beat them up, but then I'm like, hey, you do this, then you'll start taking me down. Stuff like that.
Jolie.
Like Jolie. Carter catches on pretty quick. Takes a lot of guys down. Yeah, we got some pretty good young guys. Been over that.
Sarah, another thing I'm curious about, I'm a marketing guy, so I love following.
Wait, really?
A little bit. So, there's two things that I've wanted to talk to you about recently. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. One is that I believe you were the first women's wrestler with an apparel line.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool because even Helen and Adeline didn't. Adeline got a shoe. Helen had some offers, but there was nothing that she really loved. How much did it mean to you to be the first to get that? And did you feel pressure like, okay, this is now the bar for someone to get an apparel line? What I do, because a lot of fans just want every wrestler to get everything in the world, which is great. But there's a dollar and cents component to it, to where it's got to make sense for the brands. And you were kind of the pilot, because after you, especially Rita started giving Tamara a line and others, Kayla, and you were kind of that pilot. Did you feel that pressure of I'm the first, I got to make sure that we can convert this, that I can set the bar high for a women in apparel line in wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, it was so insane when all of that got going. Even when Rudis just reached out to me, I thought I was being someone who was spamming me or trying to I didn't think it was real. And so it took a few phone calls to be okay, this is actually happening. And I actually went over to Ohio and met with the Rudis people, who are just incredible. And I knew right away that this was something that I had to do, like you're saying, not just for myself, but because it does set a precedent for women's wrestling. And it was something that needed to happen, but with that, it needed to happen with the right people, right? I couldn't just go with somebody who was going to just kind of do it because, well, we need to have a woman on the team and, this, that, but who actually cared and who was genuine and growing this and growing, my name and women's wrestling. So, but I knew Rudis was right once I had met with them. And yeah, once we got everything going, and there was so much that went into creating my line that I don't even think people know, and just how kind of personal it was for me, that once we went through it all, I was just happy and excited that I don't even think I was caught up on what it meant to like have it succeed or for people to have it happening. But I think it did create, it set a standard, and now we're seeing it pop up for a lot of people, even through Scrap Life and Barbarian Apparel. You're seeing all these women start to get more and more gear and sign with more apparel companies. So, I think it was super, super essential, and it just is kind of getting the ball rolling. I hope, it's a weird thing because there's my competitors and everybody out there, but I hope somebody's getting more than me. You know what I mean? Because that means we're growing, and then that sets the bar for the women coming up. And I think this was just the beginning, and obviously Rudis is always here to up my game and take care of me. But I just hope it continues to evolve like that.
Well, that's why too you need a competitor to get more money, so you can use that as a negotiation tactic to get more for you because you set the bar.
Right.
So.
That was my next question. So you didn't get that offer from Rudis and then like had to like, Scrap Life or whoever and be like, hey, Rudis wants to pay me this much. What you guys think about that?
Yeah, exactly. Then now that's how it's going to grow and make this, career for women, which it's a very tricky thing for a lot of people right now. I think for all wrestlers, but certainly for women, they can really begin to have it be a career for them.
Yeah, I don't think a ton of guys are getting brand deals at the moment either.
Right.
So yeah, it's just like it's kind of like a dead time at the moment. But like it's been very, very cool though, just to see like just the women's wrestling just kind of I'll even say skyrocket kind of over the past year or so. And even like we're gonna talk Captain's Cup coming up here soon, and like I'm excited to watch that. I think that's gonna be awesome. But I think just the way like you and just some of the girls at the top right now are just pioneering for the sport and for other girls is pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It has really skyrocketed.
And I want to talk about the Captain Cup. Before we do that, you mentioned something that I think is really important. You said, we live in a culture right now where everyone wants to virtue signal. They want to say something just to check the box, just to say it, just to get credit, whatever it may be. For you, you said you felt right away like they're not just signing me to check a box, which I think is going to start happening where you're going to have more companies that are like, okay, we have to sign a female.
That's happening already. I can
100%. Yeah. So I'm curious for you, giving advice to the women coming up now. We were just talking about it. I think it was the week before, it was last week when Matt McCutcheon was on. Peyton Prusson trains at Life University where he coaches. And I've said, I think there's like these rising stars. There's this next generation coming up now. What would your advice be to them as brand deals start to come out and as they start getting offers to be able to kind of inspect? Because when you're an athlete, especially wrestling, you're getting brand deals in your 20s. I'm in my 30s now, and I'm just starting to be able to decipher truth and who's genuine and who's not. What would your advice be to these young women who are coming up, who are going to have to navigate even more? Like, what's the right company to sign with? Who's being genuine because they believe in me and my brand and my talent? And who's maybe just trying to check a box with me? Like, what would your advice be for them to kind of have some discernment to be able to see where they should go?
Yeah, I mean, definitely look at what the company's doing. It was obviously hard for me. I was the first female Rudis had signed, so it's not like I could be like, oh, look at how they treat all of their women. But, I could see what they did with their athletes and, go and meet with them, talk with them in person. Don't do these exchanges just through social media. Like when I went to Rudis, they had a slideshow, an hour-long slideshow about what they're going to do with my brand and my name. And they had all these ideas already played out. And this is what we want to do. And in 2 years' time, we want this shoe for you and this shirt,
Is Sarah's shoe coming?
Maybe, fingers crossed.
Oh, let's go.
But they had all these ideas already in motion, and I hadn't even said yes. And they were like, we want this. There's just so much to get to speak to the people in person. Like, I feel like you can judge their character so much more. You have conversations, you're actually experiencing these relationships in real time. That was a huge thing for me. Like, I could just tell what great people everyone at Rudis is, and the whole company is like coming up and, hey, Sarah, they all knew my name. I walked in, hadn't even introduced myself. And, people working in the back knew who I was. And it's like, wow, these people really, they know who I am already. And And so I would look into, now people know Rudis, wow, they take care of their women. Like you just look at their social media and they love women's wrestling. So look into that. I think it's important for us, amongst each other to not be so shy about sharing what we're experiencing and what we're getting, you know what I mean? Because in the past, people just kind of keep it hush hush or told like, hey, don't tell anybody else what we do. And like we were talking earlier, that makes it really hard to kind of barter up and be like, hey, well, this company is offering me this or that. And kind of the same thing about when we're talking about taking these matches or something. It's like, well, these people are offering this, and I should be getting that. Like, so I think just kind of having open dialogue amongst each other and being open to supporting everybody and trying to find success like that.
Yeah, I agree. And my advice would be to people to take your meetings. Like, don't rush into a deal, especially now where I don't know how many people reached out to you, but like, I think women are going to start getting 2, 3 4 different apparel companies, all the meetings, see what they all say and see who gives you the best feelings, because you might go, if you're very first, like Rudis obviously did a tremendous job with you, but let's say it was a 10th of that. And that was your only experience. That was still your best experience. The next one could have been what you ended up getting from Rudis, So I think people it's exciting when you see your name, when you see like a brand potential, you get excited, but I would encourage people to don't rush into that decision and take the different meetings. Another thing you said was interesting that Cenzo and I have talked about recently is knowing your worth and when to take a match and not to take a match, right? And you're seeing that a lot right now. You actually got into an insane back and forth last year with Pat Downey that was all over. The only good thing that came from that was it almost like normalized people talking about money more.
Right.
And it's kind of enabled people to have those conversations. And I get people DMing me like, because they know my relationships. What did so-and-so get to compete? And what did so-and-so get to compete? And I think there's a level of like, look, if you want to know, go ask them. I think some stuff should be private. Some stuff should not be. For you, over this past year with the rise of RTC cards, you wrestled in the match at the Hawkeye Wrestling Club Showdown. What for you has been kind of your discernment for when you should wrestle and when you should take a match and when not? I know for the women, we were talking about this recently, I'm sure there's a struggle because on one side you want to be paid what you should be paid. On the other, it can generate exposure to get more money. What has been your kind of balance for that?
Yeah, I mean, I look at first and foremost before anything, do I need to wrestle this match? Do I need the experience? Do I need to get on the mat? Like, that's my number one thing. If I'm like, shoot, especially right now during COVID, like, I don't know when I'm going to wrestle again. I just want to get out there and wrestle. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you need to pay me this amount of money. I'm going to go in there saying like, this is what I want. But, I want, to me, at the end of the day, making sure I'm prepared and where I need to be come April 9th, come August 10th or August 8th, that's what matters most to me, and then I can start looking at that next layer. And, so for instance, when people reach out to me, right, like, oh, hey, we want you on this card. Okay, so this isn't necessarily on my time or training schedule. So now let's look into these things, understanding that I do have worth. And it's I know that sounds so weird. It's a really difficult thing. Like, I have just grown up being like, just show up and just wrestle and this and that. And it's like, I am bringing something to the table. I am bringing entertainment and talent, and I have credentials, and I think those should be respected and rewarded. Yep. And if I'm doing that and asking for that, then it makes everybody else have to do the same. And the women who are coming up beneath me then have the right to ask for that, right? Because what is it if Adeline Gray showed up to an event and didn't ask for money? Why should I get any money? Or why should the girls underneath us get any money? Because Adeline Gray is a 5-time freaking world champion. If she's not worth something, how am I ever going to stand a chance, So you have to set that bar. Just that keeps it growing for women's wrestling, and it allows stuff to actually happen for everyone.
I'm going to chime in for a second. I think it's okay to take a pay cut if you just want to get a match in or something like that.
Totally.
I think that's okay. Cause like what you're saying, like, do I need this match? Like, yeah, like I'm wrestling this weekend. I'm excited. I I need to get a match in. It's been a while for me. That's pretty much it. Like I'm going to wrestle. Don't really care about anything else.
Exactly.
If I'm gonna go wrestle on another card next month, all right, let's talk. Like, I got my match in. I know what I'm worth. I'm gonna try to, make sure I get what I feel that I can. But I think a lot of people have skewed opinions of themselves also.
True.
and I I honestly believe it's more on the men's side. Guys have more skewed opinions of themselves. I know a couple people that have asked for well more money than they
Some of them
probably
are
like.
making so much money.
Yeah, like it just is what it is. It's kind of tough, and I'm like, yeah, I see that, and I'm like, oh wow, it's kind of wild. This guy's getting paid just as much as I am, and I've done some pretty good stuff in wrestling.
Right.
I think, I really haven't won anything in a while, so like I understand, but I have the credentials to get paid
Yeah.
as much as this guy, and sometimes it's just not fair. But you definitely, like I said, okay for a pay cut, but like for the most part, you definitely got to make sure you know what you are worth.
100%. Yeah. No, it is crazy. But I guess at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? If you can get that money, get that money. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I that's a problem with me. I am like not a confrontational person at all. Like, and so I know people who
Says the girl who
don't
almost
have the
punched
same
him back.
Yeah,
He punched me. I have to punch him back.
She's like, it was my turn. It was my turn.
Okay, I did not start the punching.
But no, but like, yeah, I think that's right. I think there's room to both try to negotiate and then weigh up and say, okay, I can get X. Should I take it? And I think you're definitely seeing some people withhold for good reasons. And I think you're seeing some people that are just like, yeah, whatever. So and so. You have that in any sport, any industry, any business. You have there's people who want to charge what we charge for a website because we charge that. They're like, well, if they can get it, it's out there. But I definitely think you got to be smart, negotiate and you guys know this obviously more than me, that you guys got to do what's best for you and your training schedules. Everybody says the same thing. Like, my very first focus is winning the Olympic gold. I'm going to backtrack from there and say what's best for my schedule. And then, hey, if I can take this match because I need it, or if I can take this match to help grow women's wrestling, or if I can do this to help my RTC and club, great. But I also think there's a lot of miscommunications or misperceptions on the fan side, because we as fans often just want everything. Like, I want every good match possible
for free.
Not even. Yeah, there's a lot of fans
free.
that want it for free, but even
free.
like there's like, oh, the number of people on Facebook that are like, hey, can somebody share a stream, share your login? It's like, really? That's
I used to get the illegal streams for UFC fights, and then about like a year ago, and I was like, what am I doing? Like,
right,
because
I'm one of those athletes.
You had her 2017 moment.
Yeah, I was like, what am I doing? Like if that's me someday, I'll be pissed if someone's streaming this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one more topic that's interesting before Captain's Cup, I want to talk about social media, because Cenzo and I are always going back and forth on this.
Love it.
Cenzo's not a huge brand guy from wanting to post regularly. If there's authentic, genuine content, he loves it and he'll share it. I'm just curious on your perspective, going back to even with your apparel line, kind of being that pioneer. As I have different women on your age, I keep thinking like, you guys are the ones that are like leading the front charge. You're the first kind of group of girls really going through it that have built brands. Now there's women that are 19, 20, 21 looking at what you guys accomplished, thinking that's what I want to do. What has gone, you got like 50,000 followers on Instagram. How much work have you put in on social media to build that audience? And how much do you think about that as part of like your active,
did you buy any of your followers?
I did not buy any of my followers.
I believe you.
But I would tell you what got me a lot of followers is when I split my eye open. And that picture went so viral in the MMA community. I definitely got like 10,000 followers from that.
Wow.
It was absurd. Yeah.
And like overnight.
Dude, text McFadden. Tell him to like punch you in the eye. Like, dude,
I'm going to pretend shoot right into it.
Right. Just like doctor it. Make it up.
WWE style. Just a quick like cut.
All right.
Exactly. But no, I would say when I was younger, I definitely put a lot of time into it. And it was something that I knew was an obligation to my brand, right, with social media. And that was something I needed to create. Even now, I feel like I don't work as hard at social media, or I'm not on it as often anymore. But when I do post, I like things to be obviously authentic. So very curated to who I am, not just like as a wrestler, but outside of that. So I feel like people have things that make them think of me, which is my personality, but that makes it a brand, right? So being very deliberate in that. So, people know I love cats, and they know I love books, and I love baking bread. And so outside of Sarah the wrestler, there's, Sarah, this human being that people can support and understand. And so I'm very, I guess, I like to share those things on social media. So it helps kind of create who I am as a person. So people, can decide if that's somebody they like and want to support and stuff like that.
And it seems like you pay a lot of attention to it, because I see you reshare a lot of content when you're mentioned. Like UWW posted a thing with you today, you reshared that right away. I DM'd you to say, hey, you should come on the podcast. Like, how do you kind of differentiate? Because I always tell people there's a big difference in putting out content and consuming it. And I think engaging and seeing what you're tagged in kind of falls in the middle, because you can consume easily people you follow or see names and say, okay, I've heard this name before, I know who this is, I'll respond to them. How do you kind of differentiate, not like kind of drowning out the noise and paying attention to what's good on there? Because you seem to do it like pretty regularly. Like if somebody's mentioning you of worth, you're sharing it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I definitely am always kind of checking quick scans of there's names obviously like that I know, and I'm like, okay, these are names in the wrestling community. I'm obviously going to share that, and I've interacted with before. So, but I do try and check my like message requests kind of frequently, just to see if there's anything I'm missing in there. That's how Rudis reached out to me. So like
every athlete should do that, 100%.
Right. Yeah. So just kind of scanning through those things just to see, if it's negative, keep going. If it's negative, keep going. Something positive, but not of worth, you kind of just keep going because it's a lot, and once there's something in there that's, that's important, I try and interact with it. Yeah.
Cenzo, real quick, I want you to answer the question. You got a question yesterday, DM to you. Ooh. I can't remember it.
I'll look it up real quick.
I want to say it was along the lines of like, should Folkstyle adapt the push out rule that Freestyle has? What are both your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Freestyle step out rule will be a good fit in Folkstyle. I don't know. It's just like, because really? I think the edge stalling is like, I think they need to do a better job calling that for Folkstyle. It's just like it's like this. It's almost the same as like the grounded rule in Freestyle. It's like whatever the ref like wants to do at the time. Like it's the I don't know. I think a push out would kind of change the game. I don't know if I'm for it or against it. I think if you implement it, then it just makes wrestling a little different, and that's okay. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Sarah, your perspective?
I mean, I just want Folkstyle to be Freestyle, so I'm obviously team Freestyle. This is just the first step in conforming.
She's like, push out should be 3 points.
Okay, so Captain's Cup is coming up here soon. First question I have to ask, and be honest, was the draft, did it involve friendships and who's not friends? Because it seemed like there were some drafts that were like, this is a friendship play.
Oh, I'm sure there were.
Did you draft anybody who was a friend over somebody who was a potentially better wrestler?
I actually did not.
Okay.
I did all of mine through, I made a spread. Well, my dad made a spreadsheet for me.
No, I love that.
He's retired now, so he's great for that.
Retired dads are undefeated.
Who are you?
Wow, so true. So yeah, no, I actually went through mine all on just who I genuinely thought would get the job done. But I love all of those girls on my team as well, so it's a win-win.
It's gonna be kind of hard to single one out. If you had to pick a girl that you're most excited, like just to like on your team that you're most excited to watch for the event, who would you say?
Tiare Aiki.
Okay.
She
rising star.
She is a rising star.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, she's a rising star. It's like I guess a couple months ago now, I was sitting out of practice for some reason. I must have been nursing an injury or something. But I never the only time I see her at practice is when I'm wrestling her. And when I'm at practice wrestling somebody, going through my head, I'm not like, oh, you're good at wrestling. I'm like, no, I'm gonna kick your ass. Like, you suck. It's my match. Like, that's what I'm going through. You know what I mean?
No one
And
ever
then
hits a nice shot on you. You're like, oh wow. Oh.
Well, she is the one, exactly.
Okay.
No, for sure. And I always respect that. But when you're in it, it's like,
Mhm.
this is go time. So when I'm sitting back and watching, I'm like, God, she is so good. She is incredible. And obviously she's taken me down numerous times, so I know that. But just finally getting to see it on the sidelines, is just
Don't
awesome.
say that. You gotta tell anybody that.
She hit that headlock a couple weeks ago at the Flow event, and that caught on my radar. And I go, that was amazing. And that caught my eye, and I'm like, as I
You
started
texted
looking,
me about that.
Yeah, I did. I'm like,
Yeah.
you should have her on the podcast. Like,
Just
one of
toss
the
some
best
headlocks.
things. And Mike Mail, I think, interviewed her afterwards, and he's like, what went into that headlock? Like, kind of overanalyzing it. And she's
But did he do that thing
was...
where he's like, hey, you got a few minutes?
Yeah.
Clearly, yeah, I'm here. So.
There's nowhere else to be.
But he was like, so that headlock, talk me through it. And she's like, well, it was there. So I went for it. And that was it. I was dying.
No, she is insane. So good with that stuff.
Who
So
is
good.
there anybody that you didn't get to draft that you were kind of upset you didn't get to?
So
Is there going to be any trades before the Captain's Cup?
Can you trade?
I
trade?
I don't know.
Why not?
There will be trades, but I had my first two picks based on who was picked was either Macy Kilty or Jem Page, and I got Jem Page because Macy went to Jakara. Yeah, Jem Page.
NLWC.
Macy is just they're both phenomenal wrestlers, and that weight class is so deep and so much talent on all of the teams at that weight class. So I knew that's somebody I needed. I wanted a 62 right out the gate because of how deep it was. So yeah, no, excited.
I think 53 is extremely deep.
53 is interesting, yeah.
Ike isn't qualified for the trials, and I think Peyton Preston isn't either, and both of them could make some damage, I think, at the last
I
chance
agree.
to qualified. So 53, I started looking today at who's qualified and who's not qualified women's freestyle, and it's wild. How exciting is it? I was talking to John Rugen over at Tight Mercury about this a couple months ago, and he was so excited, and I could just sense his excitement. For you, when they came to you and said they had this idea, how excited were you to have and be a part of such? It's really an historic event. There's never been an all-women senior freestyle event. There's never been anything like this. And you're not only involved in it, you're at the top of it,
Yeah.
You're a captain, you're kind of pioneering this. Again, we keep going back to this theme of pioneering. What is
it's
it
true
feel-
though, that's why. So
Yeah, there's no way around it. How excited were you when this came about?
Oh, we were all really excited, right from the get-go. I trained with Jakara, who's also a captain, and we're like, who you picking? And then kind of getting in each other's faces. But yeah, no, I still feel like it's not hitting me. We had the draft, and just the girls that I drafted, them texting me being like, thank you so much, and they're posting it on their Instagram, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And no, thank you. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's such a strange experience, but so I guess I don't think it's really hitting me how monumental and big this is. But no, I'm so excited. I think the team aspect just makes it even way more interesting and fun. It's not something we get to do very often. So, and I certainly haven't done, and gosh, since I graduated from college. So that will be really, really fun.
Were you hoping certain people are going to be there? Sorry, Cenzo.
dude, every time.
Just cut me off.
Every
He's
time,
nothing
man.
new
Every
here.
time. So, no, see, my questions are stupid.
No.
But
they're
that's the point though. Are you planning a team warm up?
Ooh, maybe we'll do a dance or something Remember the Titans.
That's what I'm
That'd
I don't know.
be
I want
cool.
to come up with a team name. I kind of like.
You got to show out. Yeah.
Maybe we get shirts or something.
Nah,
I don't
singlets.
know. I feel like we could really just go all out with this.
I think so.
Like, I don't want to do Team Hildebrandt. I don't like that. Like, I can be the captain, but I don't want that to be the team name.
I
You know
like
what I
that.
mean?
I like that. Yeah, because like if I had a team, I wouldn't make it team
Team,
Chip. So
it's just
no,
like
that's
I don't know. I'm not liking that. I don't want
Cool.
people to be like, I'm on Team Hildebrandt. Like, I'm on Team Fighting Flamingos or something.
Yeah,
I mean, something obviously cooler than that.
Yeah.
I love that that's what came to mind, though.
It's so bad.
You've thought about that before. You can tell. That doesn't just
Oh,
fly off
man.
the tongue.
I-
When this event first came about, were you hoping like the top 5 women in your weight were going to be there, knowing that Olympic trials are right around the corner and there hasn't been that much competition for you in 2020? Were you hoping like the top 2, 3, 4 were going to be there?
I was indifferent. I've wrestled everybody in the weight class now, so that's good for me. Like, I'm glad I've gotten my hands on everybody in the weight class. And regardless, I knew going into trials that I was ready for whoever. So yeah, I mean, I'm down to wrestle whoever, whenever, to be honest. Like, that was not something that played a ton into it. But now moving forward, I know who's going to be there and I can kind of plan strategically with that.
If you're going to say something, Cenzo, do it, because I'm about to say something. I don't
Go
want to
for
cut you
it.
off again.
Go for it.
So it's funny because, we talked earlier about this next generation coming up. And I remember Nick Gwiz talking a couple months ago on the podcast where everybody's like, for heavyweight right now, everybody's thinking about Paris and Kirk and Gable, these studs. And Gwiz is like, guys, I'm not that old yet. Like, this may be a younger sport where the 19, 20, 21-year-olds sometimes have the advantage, but I think he's a year older than you. But similar for you, like, there's women coming up, like Emily Shilson comes to mind. She's like 19 or 20. She's starting to make a name for herself. When you see these younger women coming up, are you thinking they have an advantage at all because they're younger, they're coming up, they're hungry? Whereas you've been competing internationally now for a while. As you start seeing these women come up, do you not, I don't want to say threatened by them, because I think when you're competing, there's always that natural hunger, but is there that like they're coming for me sense?
I think anytime, like, I'm sitting in the finals, so I do kind of feel like, I mean, obviously everyone's gunning for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether they're 19 or 20 or older than me, which our
How
weight
old's
class
Victoria Anthony?
has it all. I think
She's like
maybe
29,
a year
right?
or two older than me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whitney, I think, is 30. Alyssa Lampy might be 30 something. So we have all age groups in this weight class.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I know that I know people are watching film on me. I know people are like, how are we gonna beat Sarah? Like, that's who is, whoever comes out of that bracket is gonna wrestle me. So I do feel like that. Especially with the younger kids, like, shit, they're coming up. They're like, let's go, nothing to lose here. And so I know that, they'll come out into the match like that, a little fired up, a little, a little chip on their shoulder. So, and I respect that. Emily Shilson, she's such a talent. And, but when it's time, we shake hands. It's like, all right, this is my time,
Punch me, I'm going to punch you right back.
Exactly.
I feel like,
before.
I feel like that's how, like, just like most sports are in general. Just like the young bucks come up, take out the old guys. We got
unless you're Tom Brady. He just doesn't
well,
try.
like, no, like that's what I'm saying. Like, Super Bowl 2 weeks, right? We got Mahomes and Brady, like, really young, awesome, really old, awesome. Like, and it's just, I like, even me, whenever I was in college, right? Whenever I was freshman, sophomore, I wrestled Martinez, who was like the top dog. And then whenever I was, a junior, I was, the guy. Then I lost, like, from a freshman. So it's a cycle.
Who do you guys root for when it comes to older, younger? Because I feel like there's always a favorite. Like, there's that group of people who.
Depends.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, for me, I kind of go based on who I like more than who like the favorite is. But I feel like sometimes there's as you're part of the crowd that's older, I feel like most people start rooting for that crowd.
The
like,
older person, right? Yeah.
Young bucks, forget them, screw them. Is that what both of you guys do historically right now? Not historically right now, just right now, I guess. Or are you rooting for the young bucks in other weight classes?
I don't know. It's hard because I know everyone so well. So, like, I'm closer to some people and been around. So I don't know. maybe a little bit. It's always, I think everybody kind of always pulls for the underdog too. So sometimes the underdog's the young buck. Sometimes the underdog is the person coming back.
He's shaking his head.
Why would you root for the underdog? Don't you want the greatness to just strive?
You
So
got-
she should not root for
Sometimes
you over
I
Jordan
do.
like
Burroughs?
you're
Right.
like you're
No, you're right.
like you're not the underdog.
I'm rooting for me. You're
Exactly.
damn right.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, that's so true. And yeah, I guess it's just, I guess I'm speaking if I'm more removed, right? Like I don't,
Right.
in the wrestling community, everybody is like my brother and sister at this point. So I'm so close to it. But maybe if I was watching, I don't really watch a lot of other sports, but
I do.
maybe if I did, I would.
Who do you root for if two friends are competing? I hate that.
Close
I
your eyes.
absolutely hate it.
You just, you just hope they both wrestle their asses off and congratulate the winner. And
I love when my
pat the
friends
loser.
wrestle people
Pretty
I don't
much.
like.
Ugh.
You what?
I love when my friends, my clients like
You're
wrestle
like,
people I
I can
don't
stand
like. Like that's
My-
so easy.
Yeah, that
My-
definitely makes it easy.
People time. That's great.
You cut out. What'd you say?
Yeah. I said I enjoy when my friends wrestle people I don't like.
Yeah, it's
I don't
the best.
and like there's not a lot of people I don't like or just like maybe
Right.
maybe someone I'm not a fan of that I don't know probably.
I think it's easier when I say don't like. I think it's easier on like the college level. Like
Yeah, that's
I'm
what
a
I'm
Penn
talking
State
about
guy,
also.
so it's obviously a lot easier for me to root for you over Ohio State.
Right.
You know, versus if you're just
Mhm.
wrestling someone that I also think is really good or. But I mean, going back to the underdog, like Cenzo, you want her to root for the underdog. You got a 32-year-old in your weight class, and he's
That's
a
cool.
5-time.
That's cool.
world
He's
champ.
he's a dog. Like he's awesome. Like there's really nothing about it. I mean, like I want to go beat everybody, but like I don't think I'm the underdog though in my brain. Like that's just yeah, you can't really look at it like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You might think so, but I don't.
When I think about underdog, I think straight like
Isn't that a movie?
what's their
Like a
champion?
cartoon or something like that?
No, there was a dog that was a cartoon. I
Air
can't.
Bud. Oh, that's not a cartoon.
No, like Wonder Dog, maybe. Could that be?
I'm gonna look it
Clifford.
up. I'm gonna look it up.
Clifford the Big Red Dog. That was definitely a cartoon. I
That's
can't.
me.
I know there was like a. I wonder.
Yeah, there's a wow, 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, Underdog from
Ooh,
2007.
stellar.
How do I know that? I don't know.
All right.
You
so
loved it. You loved Underdog.
Yeah, I guess so.
I was a
think I've
big
ever seen it.
cartoon guy.
I don't think
Big
I've ever seen
cartoon
it,
guy.
but-
So Captain's Cup, February, I think 13th, 14th on Flow. And then you have, do you know your international schedule right now?
So I just got back from France, and then there's another tournament in Rome in March, but I don't think I'll be attending
Matteo
that.
Pellicone.
Yeah. So, but I will not. I've been on the road for like a month and a half, so I want to. And then once I go to the Captain's Cup. But when I come back from that, I want to be home, just leading into Olympic trials. I feel my best when I'm in my good routine here, and it's time to start getting my weight down to 50.
Where are you training out of?
Colorado Springs Olympic Training
Right.
Center.
You've been there ever since college, right?
Yeah, right after college, I came out here.
How, if you don't mind me asking, how's that cut down to 50?
It's not too shabby, actually.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I like to walk around at like 53, so it's really not that bad. It's just, when it's time, I like to be zeroed in on it and have access to the sauna and the food that I like to cut weight with and my cardio equipment versus, when you're on the road, it's a lot more. You don't know what you're gonna have.
It's like you got like makeshift stuff, right? It's
right.
Just,
I'm like
whatever you can get
tuna
access
out the
to.
packet, sauna in the shower, like that's
Pretty
awful.
much, yeah.
You cut a lot of weight in high school too, right?
So much weight.
Have you adapted how you cut weight differently over the years?
Oh my God, yeah. Well,
Like, what
I
have you
used to
done
be-
differently?
Yeah, I used to be a lot bigger too. So in high school, it was like 130 pounds. And now I'm like 115 pounds. So, and that was just from like changing my diet, right? Like I ate like shit.
Partying. Eating
Right. And I
partying.
drank a lot. Exactly. and it's crazy how much, just from changing that, how much weight I could lose. But yeah, now I don't do that crash, binge, all of that stuff. That was awful. I was starving myself. I wasn't even hydrating. It was awful. And And now, you know, I don't miss meals. I don't even miss dessert. Like, so I'm always just, you know, if that means being more disciplined most of the time, it's still so much better than, you know, getting to eat like crap all the time and then week out just like starving myself and running in plastics. I don't do that anymore.
It's tough whenever you got to cut your calories and you're like 15, 20 pounds over and you're like,
right.
you don't have any energy. Yeah,
yeah, you're like going to practice and like in high school I would eat like half a granola bar in the morning and half a granola bar at night and like take shots of water, and it's like, and I'd sleep all through class, and it's like, you know, I had no personality, I had no friends, I had nothing, but I could make 103, so whoop-de-doo.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I hear it. Granted, I only have like the best wrestlers in this podcast, thankfully, but everybody at this level says that you need to stop cutting so much weight and you need to have fun doing what you do. But it's wild still. Like, I've heard those two things 100 times over in this podcast, and still there's so many people, younger wrestlers, that think they'll have an edge if they cut down one extra weight class. And if I were to start coaching tomorrow, I would say, go listen to the best men and women in this country, in the world. They'll all tell you the same thing. 1, have fun. 2, stop cutting so much weight. It's wild to me that it's so popular still to not do those two things.
Yeah, you know, if you're a kid and you want to be good at wrestling and have fun, M2 Training Center is a place for you. Yeah.
Shameless drop. No, for real, it sucks that there's such a disconnect. And I mean, I remember being in high school, and I mean, that was what I thought. Like, and I just, the culture around cutting weight is so strange in high school and maybe in men's college as well. I'm not sure. But like, I just remember it being celebrated like, oh, I cut 20 pounds and I slept in a trash bag. You're so cool. Like, I'm tougher than everyone. It's like, the culture is so strange. And it's like very, I hate it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we like, so as a college team, we didn't really cut a lot of weight. It was like I did and like a couple other guys, but like not even as much as, you know, other programs or anything like that. In high school, I pulled a good bit of weight most of the time, and it was just that celebrated weight cut culture. And it's like, you're eating candy and then you're working out in plastics, like
exactly.
Garbage. Yeah.
And it's funny if you make the parallel. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, the best wrestlers are on this podcast and they don't cut too much weight and they have fun. You know where those wrestlers are that cut too much weight and hated themselves in high school? They're done. And I went to a school. I wrestled. I was terrible. And Spencer, we had a great program, but all the amount of weight that our guys cut so that we could be state champions, it doesn't matter, because maybe one went on to college. So
Did you guys win?
Yeah. Well, state champions of the world. But but at the cost of no college career, no Olympic career, no world career, like nothing. So it's like, and if they would have had fun, I would have think they could still have that level of success. But I mean, anybody young listening right now, I the number of times I hear that and just want to like echo it out there, like, have fun, stop cutting so much weight. Have fun, stop cutting so much weight. All right, last thing, and then we're gonna let you go. We've talked about 17 times now how you're pioneering this. One of the things we haven't talked about, we haven't seen, is for a lot of on the men's side, there's almost a desire equally. Some guys don't even want to compete world and Olympic after college. They want to go right into coaching because there's so many opportunities. You're one of the best women in the world, so you'll probably have the option to coach. Have you thought about that, what you want to do post competition?
Yeah. So originally I did not want to go into coaching at all. I was just, and still, you know, there's a part of me that's so excited to see what else I can be good at in life when I put the energy I'm putting into wrestling into something else, in a completely different world. It's exciting to me that, like, as a professional athlete, I get a free chance to completely reinvent myself, you know, post sport. But as I, you know, go along, I'm starting to think that I really have an obligation to go into coaching afterwards because of the monumental growth of women's wrestling. I worry that we'll grow too quickly and people will fall into these positions who have no business being in them, and it will, maybe they're not talented as wrestlers, but it's also just they might not be good people, and they're going to be exactly, and to have that could completely ruin somebody's life, and
Yeah,
and
sure.
I feel an obligation and a really strong pull to make sure that as we're taking off and we're seeing D1 programs grow and everything is just exploding, that there's genuine good people in those roles. And I have no problem going into that to help grow the sport and to make sure that people are in good hands, you know what I'm saying? So I think that there is a really big obligation for us who are kind of finishing their careers, or you only have like another quad in them, to go into coaching.
I like that. I think that I really don't have anything to say about that. I think what you just said was pretty awesome. So
it's spot on.
And yeah, and like I feel the same way too. Like just I think that whenever I'm done, that like I don't know necessarily if I'm gonna be a coach or whatever. That was my goal initially, but like definitely I need to do something to give back to wrestling. I have to.
Right.
Because it's done so much for me.
So much. Oh my
and
goodness.
It's an interest. Well, even for me, that's kind of how I got back into it. Was even though I wasn't that good of a wrestler, it taught me so much discipline and just principles of life that led to success elsewhere. But you brought up a really good point in the fact that I never thought about that. There's so much growth on the women's side of the sport right now, but that has to be dealt with on the back end. We need good coaches. We need good leaders, because it is something that's so fresh and new, and you need the right people leading the charge. And after you guys have come through on the athlete side, then it's almost time to come on the coaching side now, because, okay, you like everybody in your age group right now that I hate saying the word pioneer now because that's 19, but you guys who have pioneered it, like
20.
You almost have a double duty, because you're responsible for drawing in so many fans. Now that led to more programs, which leads to more coaching jobs. So you have like double duty of drawing the fans in from you competing, now leading them from a coaching standpoint. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So at least, I'm hoping I have some job security at the very least.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get a shoe. I mean, that the shoe royalty is going to pay dividends, because we heard there may or may not be a shoe in the works.
If you have a bunch of good athletes, they can make themselves better, but you need that structure too. Like you need like the backbone of whatever program that is, and that's with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
So
you see it all the time, and like I'll say it because I don't want you to say it, because I'll admit I'm a Penn State homer. You have obvious bias ties, but like
what?
I've always said, that's one of the things that, like, as a fan, I'll admit it. When I see a good guy going to Penn State versus maybe Ohio State, you sometimes see a really good wrestler, and Cal will make him even better. And Cal will make him even better. Another coach might not bring the best of it. We've been doing a segment weekly. I don't know if we can do it this week. We've been doing a segment called Whose Stock Went Up, Whose Stock Went Down this week. And we recently said Anthony.
I got to stock up.
Okay, hang on. I want to hear it. We recently said Anthony Etchemendia's stock has gone down from a brand standpoint, because here he had a lot of hype, Flow documentary, and then he loses a couple freestyle matches. He loses a wrestle off. So, and I'm not going to blame the coaches for that whatsoever, but it's one of those things you have to take into consideration, that some coaches 100%. Are going to make you better, and some coaches can't feed you into it. Cenzo, whose stock went up and down? I don't think there's anybody competing since we
Brody Teske. Teske stock up.
Is he had a sick ankle pick?
Yeah.
I saw that on Flow.
Former Penn State wrestler, transferred to UNI. He's killing it at 125 right now. So
125. That's Drew Hildebrandt, man.
Wait, so are we taking Drew Hildebrandt over Spencer Lee?
Drew Hildebrandt over Spencer Lee all day.
Word. Heard it here first.
Wow. Can we get that on a card soon?
Are you
your brother's
I'm
biggest
sure they're going to
fan?
wrestle at some point, but yeah.
I am sure they will wrestle. I am definitely big Drew Hildebrandt fan. He is the bomb.com. So.
Didn't he call you out after his last match at the
He called me
Wisconsin
out!
RTC event? I can't remember what he said, but he called you out.
Oh, I think Willie had asked him, like, who's the best Hildebrandt wrestler in the country? And then he was like, Sarah Hildebrandt, I'm coming for you.
Wow. I love the competitive nature. Now we're seeing why you want to punch people back right away. It's you grew up with that competitive.
Okay, he was actually like, he's the youngest, so obviously he's the most spoiled and the most annoying. So yeah, he draws out that from me.
True. If you're listening, you heard it here first.
But he's also the best. So
that's awesome. Well, if you're gonna say whose stock went up, whose stock went down?
Tony Cassiope, and listen, I know he wrestled Gable, but he let him in on his legs.
Did you guys see Gable's tweet?
Of course I did.
I don't know if I did.
So the Iowa paper tweets out like 2 of 3 of Tony Cassiope's last losses have been at the hands of Gable Steveson. Gable quote tweets it, about to get his 4th today.
Oh my goodness.
That was just a savage.
Day of the match. He majored him.
Yeah.
Oh,
14-6.
I mean, I'm gonna go stock down a tad, right? Not a ton. Gable's like, that's a different animal right there. But you can't get majored.
2 strong plays. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't get majored. So,
awesome. Guys, I think that's
it.
it.
You got anybody?
No.
No? No one?
No, those are 2 great ones.
We'll just use mine then. That's fine.
Yeah. I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I watched some of the wrestling, but those are 2 great ones. Brody stock up, Tony stock a little down.
So I live with a bunch of guys that are still on the college team, so I got to keep tuning into college wrestling, and I can watch it. It's just a strict fan now, so it's kind of cool.
Oh, that is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm excited to watch Penn State go this weekend. Like, it's gonna be
hopefully.
Sweet. Hopefully.
Who do they wrestle this weekend?
I know they're going to Indiana, and then I don't know. They have 2 matches. I don't know who the other one.
Are they going to Michigan, Indiana, or Kentucky and Indiana?
They're going to Indiana.
Middle of Indiana.
They're going to Indiana.
They're going to Indiana.
Indiana.
It's
Yeah.
Indiana. Good old Hoosiers.
Yeah, so I think that should be fun. I don't know. It's very cool. Like, it's different. I was even talking about it. Like, I was like analyzing like all like the guys wrestling. I go like this, like, and I never did that before. Like, maybe like guys at my weight, but like I never did that. Looking at it just like a strict fan perspective, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you sound like you know your stuff. I'm impressed. It makes me feel like I need to be a better fan.
I love being a fan. I love it.
That's all I got.
All right, Sarah, any last words?
No, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
It's definitely fun. Thank you for making the time. Best of luck at the Captain's Cup. I mean, we got to be rooting for you now, right, Cenzo? Like, Baschamania podcast is officially Team Flying Flamingos.
I was gonna say, whatever your team name is, you let us know, and we're just gonna hammer it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get it going.
We have bias 100%, so
for sure.
We're Team Flying Flamingos. Cool. Awesome, Sarah. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Cenzo, best of luck Friday. McFadden, PRTC.
Yeah, guys.
Subscribe to Rockfin.
Everyone, subscribe to Rockfin. Pennsylvania RTC Summit 1 card Friday night. I'll be wrestling along with a bunch of other hammers.
Oh, sweet.
Co-main event.
Yeah.
Go get him.
I'm wrestling Dave McFadden. Mark Hall is coming back. He's wrestling Nate Jackson. It's going to be a cool event.
By the way, talking to a friend today, Mark Hall and Nate Jackson, that match, Mark's going to tech him. Sorry, Nate. But that match could have Olympic trial seating implications.
Oh.
Are there going to be seating implications from like cards like this? Or like,
yeah, I was curious if
there's no way.
I've heard that these exhibition matches are going to be taken into effect.
All right, so I'm wrestling on Friday at 79 kilograms. I weighed
the weight classes could be an issue.
I weighed 172 pounds today, so like I'm already under.
What's 79 kilos in pounds?
174.
Okay.
So like there's no way that they should take seating implications from like guys bumping up weights and stuff like that, right?
Nate Jackson and Mark Hall are going to be both at 86 at the trials. Is McFadden going 74?
Yeah, I think so. But like I'm not talking about like just me, like like even like Nate and Jaden wrestled on that flow card. Like, yeah, they're not the same weight anyway, but like Nate weighed in like 10 pounds under. Or like
But you're
5
telling
pounds
me
under,
that
whatever
let's
it
say
was.
Mark and Nate. Let's say Mark beats him, and then Mark beats him at the last chance because that's the only
Okay,
way they'll both
well
go to
then,
the trials.
well then, yeah, he'll be seated over him if he beats him at the last chance.
Yeah,
Last chance would. I don't know if the cards do.
I don't know if the cards do either.
I guess it doesn't really matter because they'd have to wrestle at the last chance too to both qualify, and that would take All right.
Also, you got to beat the best to win the trials. So
At the end of the day.
yeah,
we go back to talking about being a fan. I went back like what the seeds are could literally dictate like, and we've talked about this, Cenzo, where you've said it doesn't matter what seed you are. And Sarah, we'll get your opinion on that real quick. But like, it's the difference of, let's say, Dave and Bo potentially wrestling the quarters versus being opposite side of the brackets. It's just an interesting thought process with, what potential, like one analysis could be that the bottom half of 86 would be extremely stacked and the top would be like Dave. And then, you have like Sammy Brooks first and then Miles Martin, who he just teched. So it's just interesting from that. Sarah, for Cenzo and I always had this kind of conversation about seeds. Do you care where you're seated in the bracket whatsoever?
I mean, like, at the end of the day, I want to be one seed. You know what I'm saying? I do think they play a role. But if it's like, whatever, I'm just thrown in a tournament, I don't care where I'm at. I don't care who I have to beat. Like, that's definitely the mindset I'm going into it with. And honestly, any tournament I go into, it's like, whatever, whoever's on the mat with me, I do not care. Yeah. But I do understand the importance and I think they serve a purpose and it's not something I think should just be like done away with.
Yeah.
I'm just, I guess, looking at it from strictly competitor perspective.
Right. Yeah. And I totally see that.
But Cenzo's also admitted on the podcast that he doesn't, when he was at Penn State, he didn't know he was wrestling until the Monday before.
Gosh.
Yeah, no.
I'm not like that.
No, I don't watch film really, or like, yeah, just kind of go wrestle. I mean, like, my coaches will be like, hey, like this person does, like the person you're going to wrestle does this. All right, cool. Like,
yeah, I guess I can be like that sometimes too. I'm like, yeah, don't tell me until like this time and then go with it.
Yeah, get yourself kind of psyched out.
Right. Like, I'm going to just do me out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I love it. That's Baschamania episode 99. Next week is episode 100.
It's going to be lit.
Yes, it is going to be lit. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I will talk to you both soon.
See ya.
Thank you.
See ya. And that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If you did enjoy this episode of the podcast, be sure to leave a 5-star rating review on Apple Podcasts and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more episodes. For more wrestling content, be sure to follow Baschamania on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And follow me. I'm at JBash on Instagram and at JustinJBash on Twitter.
And the beat goes on.